Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar. My name is Abby Gaston and I'm going to be with you for the next half an hour. I just want to check that everybody can hear me. Could you type into your chat box if you can hear me? Well, that's good sign. Sounds like 1, 2, yeah, I'm getting a few typings. Fantastic, great stuff. So we are today going to be looking at job hunting for success, where and how to look. The webinar format may be new to some of you, so just to let you know, I will be talking, but I will also be inviting you to share your ideas and your responses just by typing into the chat box like you've done so far. And that just hopefully makes it more useful for you as a webinar, and means that you also hopefully don't get bored of my voice. So I am Abby Gaston. I'm the Deputy Head of Careers and Enterprise, and this is the first of 4 webinars which are happening this month. The next one is about taking care of your well-being in the job hunt. Then we're doing one on applications and one on how you might disclose a disability or decide whether or not you want to do that. So there's quite a few coming up for you, which I hope you'll find useful. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Do feel free to take photos of the slides if you want to. I will be posting them, the recording of this webinar, onto our graduates page on our website. So if you don't know that, it's careers.qmul.ac.uk/graduates. So it's careers.qmul.ac.uk/graduates. So the recorded webinar will go on there. All our webinars from the summer are also on there if you want to go back and look at them, but feel free to take photographs of slides as you go through. So hopefully by the end of this half hour or 35 minutes, you will be able to explain where to find job search sites, list the key steps in job searching, identify one thing you can do to overcome any barrier you are facing. I'd love you to feel like you've just moved forward one step in an idea or a confidence, or with the tools you've got to use for your job search by the end of the webinar, and hopefully you will also feel encouraged. So I really anticipate there'll be a mix of people in this virtual room, and I do want to cater hopefully to all of you at some point in the webinar and make use of knowledge and experiences that some of you may have, but also address and acknowledge the challenges you may feel you're facing at this stage in the job search. So I would like to just get a sense of where you are in the job search. So I'm just going to invite you to answer this poll, which asks you which statement best represents you. So you just click on which one you think is most appropriate for you. Thank you for these results that are coming in. Great, okay. All right, where are we, Tim? Yeah. So we've got a bit of a mix in the room, it looks like so far. Quite a few people making applications, not getting to interview. A few people not knowing where to look for vacancies, or not knowing what job to apply to. So I'm going to just broadcast those results. So you'll just be able to see there we've got a mix of people. So I think our webinar will cater to all of you, but at the end I'll also signpost for those of you in the different sections where you might, some sort of specifics of the help that we might be able to give you for your particular stage. Okay, so moving on. I'm aware that this may be happening to you. This is called the change curve. And you can see that at the start of it, it's the end of university and it's a very positive place. So you, this might be where you finished university and you started to look for work, expecting to be able to pick up the job you wanted to do or work out what you want to do quite quickly. And if you apply and get it, and if not that one, then get another one quite soon. And this is called Uninformed Optimism, where you aren't fully aware yet of all the challenges. And so your expectation for things to work out are really quite high. And then as things don't work out as you expect, your mood goes down and gets more negative, as you might start to feel demotivated or maybe lacking hope, or maybe isolated and unsure of how to proceed. And this stage is called informed pessimism, as you realise that things really are tougher than you expected. Maybe you become aware of competition for jobs, and maybe you feel a bit low. So I'm aware that right now, so you may be somewhere on the first half of this curve between positive and informed pessimism. You might be more on the positive end, or you might be more in the dip at the negative end. And one of the reasons that we're running these webinar series is just to help you realize, if you do feel you're in the informed pessimism stage, that you really aren't alone, and there are others in the same boat as you. And also that others went before you and struggled to find work, but they really did get there eventually. And sometimes it just takes more time, more support, and more applications and interviews than you'd expect. And the content I'm going to be talking through today is based on some graduate coaching that I did for 3 years. And this was helping a specific handful of graduates that were assigned to me to get into work after graduation. So I've really seen and been part of the ups and downs of that application process, and seen what some of the barriers are and what some of the challenges are. But all of those people, eventually got into work. And so today's webinar will hopefully be very practical, taking the things I've learned from that, and will be giving you hopefully a bit of encouragement and some tools so that you can move towards informed optimism. So what's the landscape? I wanted to make sure that everybody knows the landscape for how jobs for graduates work. Now, some of you might have been applying for graduate schemes. And these you tend to apply for around September, October, November. And really by the middle of November, then all the graduate schemes have closed. Now, it's important to know that these are really only one way of getting a graduate job. In fact, only 12% of people get their job via a graduate scheme, and everybody else works in a graduate level job. So what's the difference then between a graduate scheme, which you apply for in September, October, November, and you start in sort of August, September of the following year, and a graduate level job, which you can actually apply for throughout the year and start immediately? Does anyone know what the difference is between a graduate scheme and just a graduate level job? Can you type into the chat box if you've got any idea of what the difference might be of those two? I'll just give you a minute to do that. It's quite helpful to know there's these two types, because otherwise you can think, come the middle of November, that's all your chances gone until the next year. So so I've had a suggestion there. Is the graduate scheme a type of training? It's the word scheme that sounds like some kind of a training activity. Just seeing some more answers coming through, so I'm going to just wait and see what's coming through. I can see lots of people are typing. Thanks for your thoughts. Okay, so a few things here. Thank you. So I've got you have to be committed for at least 2 years in a graduate scheme, whereas there isn't such a commitment in a graduate level job. Yep, that's true. Graduate schemes tend to last 2 years or 3 years. You can actually leave them at any time, a bit like you could leave a normal job at any time. But I suppose the difference is that there is that you're on sort of a set program of training and work that has a defined length of 3 years, whereas just a normal job is just a permanent job, and there's no sort of set period at which you'll come to the end of a learning process. Graduate schemes may consist of using various roles and not one department. Yep. So another thing about a graduate scheme is often they're designed to show you different areas of the business, so you would rotate around different departments. A graduate level job is just a regular job, so you apply for it and you stay there in the department you've applied to. Graduate entry means your degree should make you capable of completing the job task in the vacancy. Yeah, so that's what a graduate job means. It means that you need to have the skills, the transferable skills, and maybe the knowledge that you've gained on your degree in order to do the job. So thanks for your thoughts there. A few other points. I think normally a graduate scheme is with a very large company. They often pay for you to do a qualification whilst you work, and as you can see, they recruit a year ahead. So you You work full-time, but you're also studying and you get some additional training. So obviously that sounds great, doesn't it? But really there are so many more graduates than there are graduate schemes. And so what might be more helpful for you is a graduate level job. So as one of the people here has said, this is a job that's suitable for a graduate. They're advertised all year round, which means you can be making applications now, and you just can keep applying month by month until you get something. And typically the job description will say somewhere that it is suitable for a recent graduate, or in the title it may even say something like graduate trainee. So these are the two types of opportunity you can apply to. There's lots of advantages of graduate level jobs because they're very, very flexible and it can be tailored to your personality and your strengths. And I anticipate that probably from now that will be the main sort of opportunity that you will be going for. So I'm going to move on to outline then 4 key steps that you need for your job search. So these are the 4 things which, through my experience of working with graduates to get into work straight after graduation, these are the 4 things that they need to have an effective job search. So the first one is identify what it is you're looking for to narrow down your search. I will talk about each of these in more detail in a minute, so I'll just run through them now briefly. The second one is to use relevant websites to search for the vacancies, so making sure that you're actually looking in the right places. The third one is selecting the appropriate level of job based on your experience, so making sure you're not applying too high. And then the fourth one is to make well-researched applications. So that's really about the quality of your application. So thinking about the first one, identifying what it is that you are looking for to narrow down your search. You can see here there's 2 photographs. Now this fox is determined, it's on the hunt, it knows its prey, it's very focused on getting that. And the photographer is pointing at one thing and he's getting that in focus in his camera. And for you, this sort of focus will help you to be more effective and will prevent you from feeling overwhelmed in your job search. So really identifying what you're looking for and having quite a narrow focus for your job search can feel counterintuitive, because I often see graduates who say, well, I just want to get a job, so I'm open to anything. But it can leave you feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of choice and many options you have. And actually focusing can make you more effective. So focus gives you the depth that you need for your job search and helps you to really put energy into the places that will be most productive. And that's because of a number of things that you see here on this slide. Focus allows you to have purposeful conversations with people you know. It allows you to say to friends and family and friends of friends, or people you meet playing football, or whatever it is that you do with your leisure time, to say, I'm trying to get work in this area. Do you know anyone who works in there? Or because often, and as I'll go on to talk about in a minute, people know people know people know people, and someone somewhere might be able to just have a chat with you and give you a bit of insight into how to break into an industry or their particular company and vacancies in their company. Focus also allows you to be very deliberate about trying to meet more people in the industry. So if you know that you want to go into marketing, it's much easier to say, okay, I'm going to attend, there's a couple of marketing events that are coming up, I'm going to attend those events and see if I can meet people in the industry, so I can get little bits of knowledge that I can put on my application form or talk about at interviews, so I can sound like an informed candidate. That's very, very difficult to do if you're spread across like many possible areas. It allows you to stay on top of issues and trends in the industry, and you often get asked about these at interview or on your application form, so you need to have this knowledge. It allows you to really mine relevant sector websites for job vacancies rather than using general ones. So some jobs just won't be advertised on Guardian Jobs or Indeed.com, and they'll only be advertised on relevant sector websites. And it also allows you to try and get some more shadowing or work experience or volunteering with the relevant skills for that industry. Because if you're focusing on one industry, you can say, okay, I know that most of the job descriptions that are coming up say that they definitely want X, Y, and Z skill. And then you can think very practically about how you might get that skill through your own initiative, or coming back and doing something at Queen Mary that we're offering, or doing some volunteering in the community, doing a bit of work shadowing. So you can really start to build a sort of a narrative and experience and skill set towards the area that you are looking for. And if you're struggling with that and you think, well, I don't know what job I want to do, and that's the whole problem, then I would really recommend that you book an appointment with one of our careers consultants, so that's myself or one of my colleagues, to just discuss how you can make that decision, and maybe sort of go through some of the different ideas you have and rationalize them down to help you narrow. That's what we're here for, to chat about that stuff and help you work it out. So the second one is using relevant websites to search for vacancies. So one of the issues with job searching is really knowing the best places to look. And often I talk to graduates some months in, and their sort of lack of success is often down to not having the best information about where to find job vacancies. It might not be anything to do with that application, they're just not looking in the right places. So I thought we could pool our knowledge in the virtual room and find out what sites you normally use to look for vacancies. If you don't know, and that's partly why you're stuck and you're on the call, that's fine, you don't need to say anything. But if you do have ideas, do you want to type them in now? So anywhere where you go to look for job vacancies at the moment. Right, great. So we've got LinkedIn, brilliant. Target Jobs. Yep, Target Jobs is great. It only does graduate schemes. So around about now, it might stop having many vacancies that you could start immediately, and all of them would be to start next year. Jobs.ac.uk, brilliant. Yep, that's for jobs in higher education. So that's really good. If you're looking outside of higher education, you'd want to look elsewhere, but it's great for higher education. Environment jobs, conservation jobs, green jobs. Yep, that's spot on for environmental and science jobs. Loads of people are looking on LinkedIn, which is really good. Super. So we've got some great ideas there. Let's talk about some more. So here are some ideas that I've got for you. The ones in red are the ones to avoid. The ones in green are the good ones. So we've got some of those Target Jobs, LinkedIn we've talked about. Nobody mentioned the Careers Jobs website, which is up there, careers.qmul.ac.uk/jobs. That's actually a website where employers who specifically want to hire University of London students put their vacancies. So it's quite a rich source of vacancies, and it's got lots of these graduate level jobs that we were talking about, which are suitable for you if you've got a degree and would start immediately. So I'd really commend that to you. The Guardian Jobs, that's also quite another good place to look. And then there's Google. So Google has got a new jobs aggregator. So if you type vacancies into, that you're looking particular vacancies into Google, you can then sort of go off onto their own, a bit like you've got Google Flights, which pulls out the best flights for you to get on a holiday. Google will pull out jobs vacancies for from different websites and tell you some of the opportunities. I would avoid at all costs Total, CV Library, Reed, Monster. If you spend your time on there, your CV will probably never get looked at. So just ones to stay clear of. Now, we also have these handouts, which you may have picked up in Careers and Enterprise when you were here, which are sector-specific handouts. And like the lady said, Henriette, about going on to environment jobs, conservation jobs, green jobs, those are sector-specific websites, and those are great places to look for vacancies. So if you don't have one of our handouts about getting into a particular sector and the links on that sector, which you can look for jobs specifically in that area, then I can send one of those to you. You can come into Queen Mary Careers and Enterprise if you're local. You can come in and pick one up. Otherwise, I can drop that to you by email. All you need to do is email me, my email's on the slide there, and tell me what area it is that you're interested in getting into, and I can send you back the handout, and that will give you the specific websites for your area that you want to be looking on. Okay. So the third thing that you want to be thinking about is selecting the appropriate level of job based on your experience. So it's obvious that graduate schemes are suitable for graduates, but then how do you know whether you're going for the right level of jobs if you're going for other jobs? And in my experience, sometimes I found that graduates don't get interviews because they're applying a bit ambitiously and need to start a bit lower down. So there are a few things that can help you work out what job is suitable for you as a recent graduate. So one is the starting salary. And if it's within the typical range for a recent graduate, you can guess that it's aiming for someone who's new out of university. So what do you think is the median starting salary of a Queen Mary graduate 6 months after graduation? Have a guess. Type it into your chat box. Right, I've got a 21,000, a 35,000, a 25,000. So we're in the sort of 20 to 34,000 range. Right, someone has got this right. Tommy, you said 24,000. Bang on. So that is the median starting salary of a Queen Mary graduate. So you can anticipate if it's not a graduate scheme and it's higher than sort of 26k, they're probably looking for someone who's had some full-time work experience post-graduation. You should probably be looking at things between 16k, which is the lower end of the scale if you're in the charity sector or the creative arts sector, up to about 26k. Some firms might have higher starting salaries, but typically that's going to be your range. So that'll indicate if that's the right sort of job that you're applying for. So if you've been applying for jobs with sort of £30,000, I'd say you're just applying a bit too high up the ladder and you want to go a bit lower down. And then the second thing that you can think about is the actual job title. So typically, in order to know if it's for a graduate, it will say trainee, graduate, assistant, or in the job advert, it will say suitable for a recent graduate. So that is typically what will indicate to you that it is the appropriate level of job to apply to. And then for all of those who said that you are making applications, but you're sort of not getting through to interview, this is a slide for you. So make sure that you're making really well-researched applications. One of my team recently talked to a student who had applied for a big consultancy firm, one of the top, and the firm said they'd call her to speak to her, and then they arranged a time. They just said, we'll call for a chat. They didn't say it was an interview. So this took her a bit unawares when the first thing they said was, what do you know about us? And she hadn't done any research for the company, and she just couldn't say anything. And that was it. That was the end of it. So that's just one story that shows how important it is to research the company that you're applying to. And whether that's a research for an application form or a cover letter that will mean that your cover letter or app form will stand out because it shows that you're really committed to and interested to that company, or whether that's for the interview. Research is really, really key. And I've interviewed so many people over my time, and I had someone the other day and they just said, we said, what did you know about careers? And they said, you help students get work. And I thought, right, I'm not hiring you. You haven't even bothered to look at our website. You haven't bothered to come and talk to us and find out more or come into the career centre. And that isn't the attitude most employers will have. They want to see you're bothered enough about them, you've done some good research. So how might you research the company? Here are a few ideas of how you can do that. You can use social media, you can use their website, but if you use their website, think about not just going to the homepage, but looking at their values, the press room, the About Us, look at profiles of different people who work there, look at any articles they've published recently. You can look at other articles by using BBC, Google, or FT. And similarly, there are sector bodies. So again, those handouts I talked to you about, they have got sector bodies on them. So CIM for Chartered Institute of Marketing, for example, or GMC for General Medical Council. And these often have news articles which might feature a company. And also you could talk to people who work there. That's what LinkedIn's for. It's great to see that some of you are on LinkedIn looking for job vacancies there, where you can contact people who work there to ask more about the company. And if you want to know how to build a good LinkedIn profile, there is a video of that on our graduates website, the graduates webpage I said on the careers site. So I've done a short video on how to build your profile. And then on LinkedIn itself, there are loads of learning guides on how to use it to network. So what do you feel if you're doing all of that, but you are still not getting there? Well, there's lots of hurdles to overcome in job searching. So you might be doing all the right things, but still feel like you're not getting there. So I'm going to spend a few minutes of addressing that now. So what if you don't know what job you want to do? Here are a few things that you can do. It's good to try some different things, just to have a go. So Q-Temps is our temp agency that offers temporary work. Maybe just have a go at something for a few weeks or a few months. It might not be something you want to do forever, but maybe it'll just give you an idea of what you like and what you don't like. I've talked about booking an appointment with a careers consultant. You could read lots of job descriptions for any level, and then you keep a record of those you like and see if you can spot any patterns between them. That's often been an exercise that's helped students I've worked with. Go onto Guardian Jobs and just look through all of those on the site. Spend an afternoon and just pull out any which you think sound interesting, regardless of if you're qualified. And often you'll find there's a pattern, and that can help you then work out what it is that's attracting you to a particular elements of a job, and then it's easy to narrow that down to find a job title associated with it. On prospects, there's a quiz which helps you to see what jobs might suit you, so it can just give you a starting point. Or you could come along to some of our events. You're very welcome to attend our events as graduates, and those showcase lots of different career areas. If you don't have any work experience and you're applying for jobs, then I'd really encourage you to be flexible. Maybe you want to be an accountant, but maybe you need to be flexible to say, well, I'm just happy with a payroll assistant job. The more flexible you are, the more likely you are to get a job. So obviously I talked about being focused, but within that area, being flexible. So let's say, for example, think of another example. You wanted to work in, talked about accounting. Let's say you want to work in charities or international development, and actually you're really, really passionate about working in a health charity, but maybe you just have to say, do you know, any charity will do for now. Maybe you want to get into the creative sector and the art sector, but maybe you don't have any administrative experience. So any admin experience would just be good as a first step, and then you could move into the creative sector next. So just being flexible and not thinking, well, I want everything right now, but being willing to see this as a longer term process, and that maybe you just have to take a step and then it'll be 2 or 3 steps down the line where you get to where you want to be. So just being willing to start off with small steps can be very, very helpful. Trying to secure yourself some professional work experience over if you don't have any experience to date can be really a good first step. And my experience has told me if you don't really have anything other than retail work or part-time jobs in sort of retail or the service industry on your CV, you haven't got any relevant work experience or any professional work experience, even in a different industry, it can be a lot more challenging for you to get that first job. So it might be that you need to get some kind of work experience first. Now you might have questions about how to do that. Come and book an appointment with us so we can talk to you about your specific situation if that's you. Here are some places you can look though. Inspiring interns, graduate talent pool search, bit of volunteering. There is volunteering where you can use numbers. There's volunteering where you can learn client skills. So there's actually quite a lot of skills you can learn by volunteering. It's not just shaking a bucket on a street. And maybe using your contacts for work shadowing or work experience. And again, we can chat with you about how you can do that. If your applications aren't getting to interviews, the first thing I would suggest is you check whether or not your applications are targeted enough. I saw someone a year after they graduated, and they hadn't managed to get through to any interviews, and only then did they bring in their CV, and there was so much they could do to improve their CV and change where they were looking. We just don't want you to wait that long, so please do come in, use we've got application advisors who check applications, or you can book an appointment with myself or Lakara, who sees a lot of graduates. You can ask, when you call up, you can ask to see Lakara or Abby or an application advisor. Also ask yourself, are you applying for the right level of job given your experience, or should you go for something more junior? Check you're using the right job application websites, and see if you can use the people that you know and the people they know and the people that they know to try and get a recommendation into a company. And thinking about that, who do you know and who do they know? Often people feel like, well, I don't know anyone. But this is a really nice picture that shows it's not just who you know, but it's also who they know that can make a link for you into a job area. And you don't know that until you ask. So I'd really encourage you to gather your confidence and ask those around you if they know someone in the industry that you want to be in. And maybe they would be happy to ask around for you so that you can meet them with a coffee or have a chat with them and just really understand a bit more about how they got in and any advice that they've got for you, because often people in the industry can really give you some helpful tips because they are really in the place that you want to be. And if your contacts don't know anyone, then use LinkedIn. And there's a link there which is a really useful PDF that LinkedIn produce on how to network on LinkedIn for students. And there's loads of videos that they produce as well on that. So it's worth having a good old root around LinkedIn. If you feel that your disability or dyslexia are a barrier, then do look into Employability. They're a really great organisation, and they help people transition from education into employment. And they offer sort of guidance on CVs and interviews and assessment centre. They bring in employers to run mock interview sessions. They give you advice on disclosure of a disability and recommendations regarding disability inclusive employers. So do look them up if that's something which you think will be useful for you. So we've gone through the 4 key steps in job searching. So let's see what you remember. So I'm going to launch a little poll here. If I can just, there we go. So I've got lots of different things. I'd like you to select the sentences that represent the 4 key steps to job searching. So tick the boxes that you think are the 4 key steps. Great, getting your responses in, thank you. All right, super. So I'm going to broadcast those results so you can see them. And to recap, the 4 key steps for job searching are, as many of you said, you want to identify what you're looking for to narrow down your search, to use relevant websites to search for vacancies, to select the appropriate level of job based on your experience, and to make well-researched applications. These are your 4 key steps. So we've looked at the 4 key steps. We've looked at the barriers that you might be facing. And what I'd like you to do is now to just reflect on one thing you can do to overcome a barrier that you feel you are facing. And then I'd like you to just type it into the chat box. So one thing you can do, it might be something that I've suggested, it might be something else that's come to mind. It might be as simple as book an appointment with a careers consultant, or look on a different job website, or email for sector-specific handouts, or go and have a chat with a buddy who's also struggling so you feel like you're not so much on your own. It could be anything. But I just invite you now to type into the chat box one thing you can do to overcome any barrier you feel you are facing in your job search. Great, so I can see lots of people are typing away, so I'll just let you have a think and type in. Find the relevant sector. Okay, great. Assess the level of experience required more thoroughly. Do more research regarding the specific industry. These are great next steps. Yeah. Super, getting some appropriate work experience. Brilliant. Keep up to date with sector news. These are all really, really relevant things that you can be doing. Yeah, being flexible, using work experience, marketing skills better. Yeah, being specific about the job that you want. Great. Well, thank you for those thoughts. I think they're all really relevant, really good next steps. So I'd encourage you to just crack on and do those things. And if it would be very helpful for you to keep listening to the webinars and do join us for other ones that we have later this month. I also want to, but just before we finish, I want to just show you the graduates webpage. And while I do that, I'm going to ask you if you've got any questions that I haven't answered. So we're just going to go to, if this works? Yeah, we're going to go here to, this is the careers jobs website. Now, I don't know if any of you have been on this, but here we've got Find Your Future webinars. So you can see there's other ones that you can register for, but also these are recordings. So for people who don't know what they want to do, they're still kind of working out, there's one you can listen to about how to choose a job, another one on job hunting, one on CVs, cover letters, one on interviews, and then here a short video from me about a LinkedIn screencast, information on appointments, how you can find graduate jobs and internships. So we've got some links here to our temp job and our own jobs board, and our interview software where you can practice, careers events, do keep coming back to those, some videos of other graduates. These are brilliant. They're other graduates who've worked really hard to get into work, and can be really helpful watching those and getting a sense of other people who've been in the same situation as you. Those are all places that you can go to just get a bit more information and keep up to date with webinars, etc. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, please do feel free to type them into your chat box so that I can answer them. We've just got, if you want to come, I think if you want to come back to the webinar, you can probably minimize the careers graduates page, and then it will allow you to come back to see the webinar slides. Great, so I can see a couple of people typing in, so I'll just take those questions when they pop into my my chat box. The one thing I would really encourage you with is it just takes often more applications than you think to get there, but you do get there, and there is a phrase that says, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that's sort of true, but often it's try again, see if there's anything you can do differently, and then try again. So you don't want to keep reinventing the wheel and doing the same thing over and over if it's not working. So I think there's a balance somewhere between doing, like, keeping on trying, but also saying, well, okay, if this isn't working that well, what can I do differently? And taking seeing if you can take a different approach. Okay, so I've got, is it worth approaching on LinkedIn I'm not connected with, requesting their advice and tips on how they got to their current role in their current company? I've started doing this. See, they've viewed my response, but they don't seem to be willing to respond. Yes, definitely is worth doing that. There's two ways you can do this. You can either write that request in the connection message, so that they'll kind of connect with you if they're interested, and then you can send them a message into their inbox. Or you can just do it as you, however you're doing it at the moment, where you're not connecting and requesting their advice. I'd say the main thing is you've just got to try a lot of people, because some people are really up for helping and some people aren't. Also, you want to make sure you're tailoring your message as well as possible. Now, what you're doing is called an informational interview, and if you Google LinkedIn informational interview, there's lots of like advice and email templates that you can use on how to write the best kind of impactful message to someone to encourage them to respond to you. And I would also say it's worth starting with alumni of Queen Mary, because they're more likely to respond to you if they're an alumnus. So you can use the alumni tool on LinkedIn. So again, if you Google alumni tool LinkedIn, you can actually, it takes you to a section of LinkedIn which has basically you can narrow down where alumni work by sector, and then you can message the ones who are in areas of interest to you. I've got another question here about, I'm applying for jobs in the UK from elsewhere in Europe. Would including my overseas address on a CV or cover letter limit my chance of getting through to an interview? Now, this is a tricky question, because I think every employer will think differently about this. But I do think it's probably a bit of a barrier if you include your overseas address, in the sense that they might think, is she going to be willing to relocate? So I'd say you can include it, but if you do, make sure in your cover letter you explain that you studied in the UK and you would be, whilst you're currently back at home, you're seeking work in the UK and you're planning to relocate. So just make your intentions really clear to show that you know the ground, you know the UK, it'd be easy for you to relocate. Because they'll probably need your contact details at some point. So I think just make it really clear of your intentions and that this won't be a difficult thing for you to relocate. So I think that's. But typically for CV, you just need to include phone number and email. So it's fine to just include those. I'd say that for most people, you can include your address, but equally it's fine to just include a email and phone number. Okay, great. So we've got probably time for just kind of one more question before we finish. I can see some people are typing there. If we apply overseas, do we write our CV in a different way than in the UK? Yep. Different countries overseas do have different sort of outlines of how they want to write the CV. In Europe, typically you need to include a picture. In the UK, you don't include a picture. I think in Asia, you would include your marital status and your date of birth as well. So I'd say those are kind of the main things. If you're looking for work, we have got some country guides, hard copy guides, which you can come into careers and pick up. Or again, you could email me on that email I put earlier, a.gaston@qmul.ac.uk, if you want a country guide for Pakistan, India, Russia, Malaysia. I think those are the country guides we've got, or India, and they will tell you the specifics. Oh, and China, they'll tell you the specifics of applying for jobs in those particular countries. So if you want access to any of those, I can send you those afterwards. Just drop me an email. Okay, well, thank you for your time, everyone. I hope this has been useful. Do pop onto our grads page and register for other webinars or book an appointment with us if it's useful to just speak to your particular situation. It's often just one step at a time at this point, but I'd really encourage you, you're not on your own in the job search. There's lots of people still trying to break into their first job, and it's just about a bit of resilience and persistence, and we'd love to continue to support you in this. Okay, so I'm wishing you all the best for your search, and my next webinar, someone called Lakara, my colleague, is doing the next two. As I said, one on well-being in your job search next week, then the week after, one on disability disclosure and access to work, and then the final one in November is me, and that's on writing application forms. So do join me there if you think that would be useful to you. Okay, thank you very much.